All right, everyone, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into something we use every single day, but probably never really think about, right? Spoken English.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to pick apart why it sometimes feels like native speakers are speaking some kind of secret code, even when you think you get what they're saying.
It's true. We kind of take our own language for granted, but good news is we can totally crack the code.
That's where Keith comes in. He's this IELTS instructor with this insanely practical approach to understanding fast natural English. You shared some notes, right, from one of his presentations?
Yeah, I did. He starts off by tackling this big misconception for English learners, that you have to understand every single word to get the meaning, which he says is just not true.
Wait, really? I've been stuck in that trap forever.
It's a common one. He
All right, everyone, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into something we use every single day, but probably never really. All right, everyone, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into something we use every single day, but probably never really think about, right? Spoken English.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to pick apart why it sometimes feels like native speakers are speaking some kind of secret code, even when you think you get what they're saying.
It's true. We kind of take our own language for granted, but good news is we can totally crack the code.
That's where Keith comes in. He's this IELTS instructor with this insanely practical approach to understanding fast natural English. You shared some notes, right, from one of his presentations?
Yeah, I did. He starts off by tackling this big misconception for English learners, that you have to understand every single word to get the meaning, which he says is just not true.
Wait, really? I've been stuck in that trap forever.
It's a common one. He compares it to trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle, but you're only looking at the backs of the pieces,
Okay.
You miss the big picture. It's all about the context.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not enough to just know, the dictionary definition of a word.
Right.
You need to get how it's actually being used in a sentence, in a conversation, in real time.
Exactly. He actually calls it the sound illusion, how sounds morph and disappear in natural speech. Makes it sound like a whole other language.
Ooh, do you have an example?
Think about good day. It sounds like just one word, right?
Have a day?
D-day.
Exactly. It totally does. Wild. I never realized that.
And it's not just dropping letters. Sometimes sounds, they get linked up or even added in. Think about how go and often becomes gone.
Going, yeah. So how do we, retrain our brains to hear these subtle but important differences?
Well, Keith gives us 5 fantastic tools. He calls them the 5 essentials. They help us level up our listening comprehension.
Okay, let's unpack these tools. What's the first one?
Okay, so the first one is all about word stress.
Word stress, okay.
He explains how just changing which syllable we emphasize can totally change what a sentence means.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It's like that classic example, I want a ticket to London versus I want a ticket to London.
Exactly. And Keith points out that our ears, they naturally go to those stressed words because they have the most important information. Our brains are kind of wired to hear the beat of the sentence.
That's so helpful, especially if you're trying to keep up with a fast conversation.
Right.
You can't get bogged down in every single word. You got to be able to pick out those key points.
He says it's crucial for something like the IELTS listening test.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Where you don't have time to overthink every single word. You have to grab the main idea and move on.
Okay, that makes total sense. So what's the next tool in our sonic toolkit?
This next one, this was my favorite. He calls it chunking it up.
Chunking it up.
Yeah. So instead of getting lost in the individual words, he says we should train ourselves to listen for groups of words that work as one unit of meaning.
Give me an example.
Okay, so think about phrases like have a good day or I'd like to.
Okay.
We don't process them as separate words, right?
Yeah, it's like one whole.
They're single unit of sound.
You're right. They totally are. I never thought about it like that.
It's pretty cool. Our brains are actually wired to process these chunks way more efficiently, which makes understanding faster and smoother. And a lot of grammatical structures are actually chunks I want to, I should have, can you. They all act like little shortcuts in spoken English.
So by recognizing these chunks, we can actually start to decode sentences faster and even anticipate what's coming next. That's amazing.
Exactly. And that brings us to what Keith calls the secret language of spoken English, weak forms.
Oh, I've heard of weak forms.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I totally get them, though. Sounds kind of intimidating.
It's actually not that complicated. You know how some words sound different in casual conversation?
Yeah.
Like how to can become ta.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Those are weak forms. They're like the undercover agents of English.
I like that. Undercover agents. Okay.
These common words like to, for, and do, they all have these secret identities that only come out in natural speech.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not that the word disappears entirely. It just kind of like changes its pronunciation depending on where the stress falls in the sentence.
Exactly. Mastering these weak forms, it's like having the inside scoop on how native speakers actually talk.
I like it.
But don't worry, Keith gives us some seriously practical tips for actually, hearing and using them.
Okay, I am ready for those tips. But first, we need to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. And we're back, folks. Diving even deeper into this whole spoken English thing. Before the break, never thought I'd be so into the word "ta." Weak forms, who knew, right?
Right. Like uncovering these secret patterns.
Yeah.
And Keith doesn't stop there. He says, once you start noticing these weak forms, gotta master their partner in crime, which is contractions.
Oh, yeah. Contractions, those little shortcuts are like everywhere in spoken English.
Exactly. He even calls them the spoken English secret handshake.
I love it.
They're key for sounding natural and fluent.
Yeah.
But they can be tough to catch if you're not used to them.
Totally. I remember when I first started learning English, I thought should've was like this crazy advanced grammar rule. It took me forever to realize it was just should've in disguise.
Right. Like the language is playing tricks on us.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a deep dive without some linguistic gymnastics, right?
Right.
So Keith brings up what he calls the big one for understanding fast English, which is connected speech.
Connected speech. Okay, I'm intrigued, but also slightly terrified. What are we talking about here?
So, think about it. When we speak naturally, we don't pronounce words in isolation.
Right. But
It all flows together.
yeah, it would be so weird if we talked like robots, just like enunciating every single sound.
Exactly. So connected speech, it's all about how these individual sounds and words, they blend together in natural conversation.
Okay, so give me an example. How does this connected speech thing actually work in real life?
Okay, so picture this. You're ordering a coffee, right?
Okay.
And you say, "I'd like a latte, please."
Okay, yeah.
But in reality, it all kind of mushes together, right?
Yeah.
Or like, "I'd like a latte, please."
Oh, wow, you're right. It's like your mouth is trying to find the laziest way to get the words out.
Exactly. It's efficient.
Yeah.
And our brains are amazing because they can decode these sounds, even if we don't consciously realize it.
That's true. It's like when you're reading and you skim over a word or two, but you still totally get the meaning.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, our brains are constantly filling in the gaps, making inferences based on context and what we hear. But knowing these rules of connected speech, it gives us a serious advantage.
Okay. So this is all starting to make sense, but how do we actually get better at hearing these connected sounds? Especially when people talk fast.
Practice.
Okay.
Practice, practice, practice. Keith recommends listening to short audio clips
Yeah.
and trying to write down exactly what you hear. Connected sounds and all. It's like a workout for your ears.
And speaking of workouts, this deep dive has been a mental workout in the best way possible.
It has.
We've covered so much. Word stress, chunking, weak forms, contractions, connected speech. It's like we've been given the cheat codes to the English language.
It really is amazing how all these tiny little things, they make such a big difference in how well we understand things.
Absolutely. And it's not just about IELTS prep anymore. It's about unlocking a whole new level of fluency and confidence just in everyday conversations,
Yeah, and that's what's so great about how Keith approaches it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't just explain the concept. He gives us actual ways to use them,
Right.
Remember those 4 sentences he started with?
The ones that supposedly had all these elements woven into them.
Yeah, those are up next.
Ooh. I can't wait to break those down. But first, we need to take a quick pause. Stay tuned, because things are about to get very meta. All right, and we are back. Are you ready to see these spoken English secrets in action? It's like we've been, studying the magician's playbook, and now we actually get to see the magic show.
Right, like seeing it all come together.
Yes. Okay, so let's go back to those 4 sentences that Keith used at the beginning. The ones that he said had all these hidden elements. You ready to put on our detective hats and analyze?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Sentence number 1. I'd like to get a ticket to London. Take it away, detective. What do you hear?
Okay, so we got I'd, the contraction, and then Both of those two words, they get that weak form.
So it's not, I'd like to get a ticket to London. It's more like, I'd like to get a ticket to London. It's more like, I'd like to get a ticket to London.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you listen super closely to native speakers, you hear those words kind of blend together, almost like one word. I'd like to get a ticket to London.
Wow, it's crazy. I mean, it's incredible how, like, our mouths just instinctively simplify these sounds when we speak naturally. Okay, what about sentence number 2? What was it again?
Okay, sentence number 2 was, can you pay by cash? Now, if we think back to what Keith was saying about word stress, which words like jump out at you as the most important.
Definitely pay and cash. Those are the, like, if you missed everything else, those are the 2 key things you need.
Exactly. Our ears naturally go to those stressed syllables, which helps us make sense of it all really quickly. Okay, you ready for number 3?
Yes, hit me with sentence number 3.
All right, this one was good. You should have asked. I would have been happy to do it. Now, this one is like chock full of connected speech.
Oh, yeah, it's a mouthful. Okay, let's break it down piece by piece. So, you should have asked.
Okay, so should've's going to become shuv, that contraction we hear all the time.
Right.
And then there's that sneaky little asked at the end.
Sneaky, yeah.
Remember how Keith was talking about how those consonants at the end of words, they often blend into the vowel sound of the next word? Like we do it without even thinking about it. So
Yeah.
asked basically turns into asked when it comes before that I.
Okay, so we've got you should have asked. Got it. What about that second part? I would have been happy to do it.
Oh man, more contractions. So would've, obviously. But then listen to how all those small words like been, to, even a second to in do it, they all get that weak form, you know? They almost fade into the background.
They totally do. It's amazing. I mean, how we don't even think about how much our pronunciation changes when we're just talking naturally.
It's incredible.
Okay, bring on the final sentence. I'm ready for this.
Okay, last one. It's fine. I didn't want to trouble you. And this one is a great example of how we drop sounds in fast speech, especially those T sounds at the end of words.
Okay, so it didn't becomes didn't, and want to becomes wanta.
Exactly. Nailed it. And then just like we were talking about, all those words start linking up. Want to trouble. It almost sounds like one word when you say it naturally.
This is blowing my mind. It's like we're uncovering this, like, secret code to a language that we've been speaking, like, our entire lives, and we never even knew it.
I know, it's amazing. And the best part is once you start to pick up on these patterns, the word stress, weak forms, the connected speech you unlock, like a whole new level of fluency.
100%. It's like I'm not just listening to English anymore. I'm really hearing it. All those little nuances, the shortcuts, everything.
And that is the power of a good deep dive.
I love it. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, to everyone listening, remember, language isn't about, like, memorizing a bunch of rules. It's about, like, tuning into how people actually talk. So go out there, listen closely, and don't be afraid to dive into those deep, fascinating waters of spoken English. That's it for our deep dive today. Until next time, stay curious.